What's up, blockchain? This is Nick from Truth Blitz. Hope you guys are all having a good evening. I know I am having a little bit better day today than yesterday, as most of you I'm sure are. We are seeing a slight rebound in the market, and it's a good guess that that's due to the outcome of the Senate hearing on cryptocurrencies with this SEC and CFTC. So we're going to talk about that a little bit here in a minute. So right now, like I said, slight recovery, $360 billion market cap overall. We got Bitcoin. It was up even higher, but it's down slightly from where it was. Right now we're at $7,571. Ethereum is $768. And yeah, you know what, I was looking at Pillar earlier, and let's take a quick look at Pillar. Pillar was doing amazing. It is down. It was last time I looked, it was about 55%. And yeah, let's take a look. We reached up to about 160, just about, and then now we're dropping a little bit. So will it just go down slightly and then bounce back up like it had been doing the other day? We'll have to wait and see. But I am glad I am holding the amount of Pillar that I am. So anyway, I don't know if any of you were incessantly checking your Blockfolio the last few days. I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't, because I was. And although I told you I'm hodling, you know, I know that this is going to end, meaning the pullback. It still stings to see your portfolio down such a significant amount. So definitely was happy to see today, even now, that it's, you know, up pretty substantially from where it was last night. And I believe that is due to this. This is what happened today. As most of you know, we had hearings, Senate hearings, with the SEC and CFTC chairmen. And we're just going to kind of go over a little bit what was talked about. Okay, I have this article here from TechCrunch. Senate cryptocurrency hearing strikes a cautiously optimistic tone. Now, I will say right off the bat that most of the optimism came from Chris Giancarlo, who is the CFTC chairman. Jay Clayton seems like well, we'll get into it. In a hearing today before the Senate Banking Committee, Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Jay Clayton and Commodity Futures Trading Commission Chairman Christopher Giancarlo opened up about what the near-term U.S. regulatory fate of cryptocurrency might look like. In a week of plunging prices and bad news, the hearing struck a tone that coin watchers could reasonably interpret as surprisingly optimistic. Over the course of the open hearing, Clayton and Giancarlo traded testimony over what can be regulated, what should be regulated, and how, while offering a broader outlook on the long-term future of virtual currency markets and blockchain technology. The testimony drew a useful distinction among three pillars of the virtual currency ecosystem, pardon me, for lack of a better undefined term. Cryptocurrencies, quote, a replacement for dollars, ICOs, like a stock offering, and distributed ledger technologies, or the technical framework generally known as blockchain. Throughout the hearing, on the SEC side, Clayton struck a relatively solemn tone focused on ICO fraud concerns, while the CFTC's Giancarlo came across as genuinely enthusiastic and curious about the emerging market. On a question of the intrinsic value of cryptocurrency, Giancarlo defended Bitcoin's value, explaining the process of mining and how it correlates with price, or sometimes breaks from that correlation, and economists he cited have suggested. Clayton, on the same question, there are a lot of smart people who think there's something to the value of cryptocurrency and the international exchange, and I'm not seeing those benefits manifesting themselves in the market yet. I look at this from a perspective of Main Street investors, and they should understand that. Clayton made further comments casting doubt on the usefulness of cryptocurrencies as currency, citing common concerns around how market volatility makes transactions difficult. So, you know, he is not as enthusiastic as Giancarlo, and you will see what else he's got to say. I'll just keep reading. On advantages of a Bitcoin futures market, the CFTC can now obtain trading data and analyze it for fraud and manipulation, Giancarlo said. With Bitcoin futures, we're now having visibility into underlying markets and spot markets that would not otherwise we would not have otherwise. Concerns around misconceptions of cryptocurrency trading platforms. Both chairmen expressed concerns about the unregulated nature of cryptocurrency exchange platforms and their potential to mislead consumers into believing that a regulatory net of some kind exists. I don't really see how, people would think. If you got into cryptos, you should know, as of now, we really don't have much regulation, okay? So I don't know why they think that the average person is going to just get into cryptos, jump on an exchange and think, oh, this looks regulated. You know what I mean? Most people, when they get into cryptos, they're in the beginning, not everybody, but most people, in the beginning, it doesn't really go beyond Coinbase, okay? They're not going on Bittrex or Binance and buying various altcoins and setting up different wallets and so on and so forth. So I don't really get what they mean. Does it mean the way an exchange looks? It looks like it would be regulated. I don't know. But I really don't buy into what they're saying there. Anyway. To be clear, the CFTC does not regulate the dozens of virtual currency trading platforms here and abroad, Giancarlo said, clarifying that the CFTC can't require cyber protections, platform safeguards, and other things that consumers might expect from traditional securities. Clayton called for an interagency coordinated plan among states, federal regulators, and the SEC and CFTC to address consumer naivete over unregulated trading platforms. I think our Main Street investors look at these virtual currency platforms and assume they are regulated in the same way that a stock is regulated, and as I said, it's far from that, and I think we should address that. Here we go, ICOs. On ICOs as a security. I believe every ICO I've seen is a security. You can call it a coin, but if it functions as a security, it is a security, Clayton said. Of course he would say that. Those who engage in semantic gymnastics or elaborate restructuring exercises in an effort to avoid having a coin be a security are squarely in the crosshairs of our enforcement provision. So that's a little apocalyptic sounding when it comes to ICOs in the US. I do agree with the fact that the majority of ICOs could probably be deemed securities, but not all of them. And he's basically making it sound like every ICO is a security, and I know better than you. So that's what I gathered from that anyway. There are most definitely ICOs whose coins, or tokens I should say, are utility use tokens, okay? They're not paying out dividends. They are utility tokens. So for him to generalize every ICO as a security is, I think, it's not good, basically. I don't think that he should have done that, but he seems like he's, I don't know much about Jay, what's his face over here, Clayton, but I mean, he is the SEC chair, and I'm sure he got to be in that position because he's, you know, part of the legacy banking system, part of the manipulated and, well, I'm not gonna keep going with that statement, but you know where I'm going with that. Okay. On coordinated regulation, when Senator Mark Warner, who expressed more familiarity with the area than most of his peers, criticized the patchwork nature of regulation that allowed Bitcoin futures while still blocking ETFs, calling for a more coordinated effort among regulatory bodies, both witnesses were quick to agree. In doing so, Warner offered a bullish vision. The potential writ large amongst crypto assets and the underlying blockchain could be as transformational as wireless was years ago. I think we're going to need a much more coordinated effort, Warner said. All told, the hearing was far from apocalyptic for regulation phobes. While it's clear that the CFTC and SEC have only scratched the surface of the kind of rule sets they'd like to put in place, their plans appear to be overwhelmingly focused on protecting consumers from threats like rampant ICO fraudsters and unsafe exchanges, rather than discouraging growth. For anyone interested in long-term health and viability of virtual currencies, that should come as good news. So, overall, what are your feelings on this? Do you think it was a positive hearing? Because if you want to talk about overall big picture, I think it was positive, especially compared to what it could have been. You know, we could be looking like communist China right now, where they're trying to ban everything and put up a firewall. But instead, we have at least have regulators who are willing to look at this market with some sort of optimism and see the value in blockchain technology and cryptos. So it's really big picture. It's I think it's pretty good. Are there things about it that I don't like? Yes, and mainly those are coming from, you know, Jay Clayton. You know, I don't like his interpretation of ICOs as all being securities. Okay, now I don't know what their plan is. Are they going to, you know, in his mind, and of course we don't know what he's thinking, but he may want to put some rule in place where any ICO cannot be participated in unless you're a qualified investor. Now, I don't think that's fair to the regular citizen who would not be considered a qualified investor. But if they are talking about kind of weeding out ICOs that are not going to deliver and are set up as scams, which there are plenty of those out there, trust me, and we've seen them, then I don't think that would be a bad thing. But like I said, if they're going to make it so only the insiders, you know, the people who are qualified investors are the only people who can get in on ICOs, then I would not agree with that whatsoever. I would be very pissed about that, and I'm sure you would too. And also, what does this mean for ICOs that have already completed, that maybe the platforms are being built right now? We're sitting on the coins. As I said in my video earlier from the road, I just got into debiting them. Okay, I have my tokens. The ICO is not over yet as far as I know, but it was close to the end. So, you know, what's going to happen, you know, to ones like that, you know, ones that didn't end a year ago, or, you know, 6 months ago, but that just ended or are just about to end. You know, I guess we're going to have to wait and see. you know. But one thing is for sure, I think they at least realize that this train has gained too much momentum for them to stop it, even if they wanted to, which it sounds like they don't want to. Okay, it sounds like again, I don't know if this is true or not, but it sounds like they want healthy regulation and to protect the consumer, blah blah blah, you know. And if that's all they genuinely want to do, okay. But if they want to come down with their, you know, strong arm tactics and their control mechanisms and basically tell us, well, you can't buy this anymore, you can't buy that anymore, you need to be a qualified investor to invest in this, blah 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 blah, so on and so forth, then you're gonna have a lot of pissed off people. But anyway, like I said, for them to stop this, this has gained too much momentum. This would be like a freight train that's a mile long, okay, that is at full speed, but only has 100 yards to stop, okay? It ain't happening. Now, if it had a couple miles, maybe it would be able to stop, okay? But we are too far in for them to put an outright stop on this. The revolution is too far in, and you know, if this was a few miles back or a few years back, they might be able to stop this train. But lucky for us, that's not where we're at. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to go over this article. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this is a bad thing? And what do you think the future is going to hold as far as us here in the States and crypto regulation? Let me know, guys. Follow me on Twitter at TruthBlitzMedia, and I'll see you guys next time.